So starting with the first page, you have to find the slope here. So you should have been counting your rise over run. For number 1, that was 1/2. For number 2, that was 0, because it was a straight horizontal line. Number 3 was -3, so make sure you're simplifying as much as possible. And then number 4 was 3/4. Questions about any of those? Then for 5 and 6, we have to find the slope using our slope formula. So the answers are up there, but I'll show the work. So if we were labeling x1, y1, x2, y2, that would be 5 minus a -4. Some of us were forgetting that extra minus or extra negative. Over -8 minus 10. If we just wrote this as is, this would become a plus. So that would be 5 plus 4, 9, over -8 minus 10, -18, which would simplify to -1/2. Questions on that one? Go ahead and close computers. Make sure you are following along, fixing anything that you didn't get correct, that way you don't make those same mistakes on the test. So the same thing for number 6, this would be -1 minus a -3 over 16 minus a -4. So that would give us -1 plus 3 or 2, 16 plus 4 or 20, which was simplified to 1/10. Questions there? 7 and 8 were already in slope-intercept form, so there was no work. You just had to list out what the slope was, -1/4 and then 1/3. And then for 9 and 10, you had to solve this, get it back into slope-intercept form by subtracting 5x. Or you could have added y, either or. And then if you subtracted 5x, divide everything by -1. So that y equals 5x. So that our slope is 5. And then same thing for 10, get rid of x. Divide everything by -3. So this would be y equals, this is really -1 over -3, so that becomes a positive 1/3. And then our slope is 1/3. Questions there? Yes. This? That's a plus. Okay. On to the next page. Those were each 1 point apiece. And then for the first two, you had to write the slope-intercept form, so your whole equation, y equals mx plus b. Find the slope, find the y-intercept. The y-intercept was actually where the arrow was. So your equation should have looked like this, y equals -x plus 5, or y equals -1x plus 5. Either of those was fine. For 12, find your slope, which was 3. Your y-intercept was 0, so you could leave it like this, or put plus 0. Again, make sure you're simplifying. 13 and 14, we're taking the slope and y-intercept and putting that together in your slope-intercept form. So y equals 4x minus 4, y equals -2x plus 3, 2/3 x plus 3. Questions on any of those before we get into the ones where you have to do work? Did you have one?
So basically, it just wants you to, it already gives you the answer, and it wants you to write it out.
So for the slope, it gave you the equation, and you had to find the slope from that equation. From these, it's giving you the parts of the equation. You have to put it together. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these using the slope-intercept form, and the other one using the point slope. You should have been using point slope for one of them. It did not matter which one. So let's say you did the slope-intercept for this one. In your y equals mx plus b, this is x, this is y, this is m. So that would be negative 2 equals 1 times 2 plus b. I don't know what b is yet. And then we would solve this, multiply these by 2, and get rid of 2 by subtracting. But then once you find your b, you have to go back and rewrite your equation. Y equals 1x minus 4 or just x minus 4. Questions on that one before we do the next one? Okay. And then for this one, I'll use the point slope, which I'll write up here, but if you forget what it is, those of you that will be in here, it's one of those. It's the pink one. Yes, it's right behind Erica. So feel free to go over there and look at it. I think it's also on the gold one too. But so for this would be x1, y1, and m. So when I write this out, it would be y minus my negative 2 equals my slope negative 3/5 parentheses x minus 5. And I would make the minus and negative a plus, and I can distribute on the other side because I don't have that going on in there at the same time. So y plus 2 equals negative 3/5 x. This will become a positive, the 5's would cancel. And then get rid of 2 by subtracting. So that y equals negative 3/5 x plus 1. Questions on that? These ones were worth 17 and 18 were worth 2 points because you had to find the slope, and then you had to go back and find the actual equation. So for the slope, same formula, that y2 minus y1. So that would be negative 5 minus 3 over 5 minus 3. And then I could simplify this to be negative 4. And then you could pick either point, does not matter. I'm going to use the positive 3's though, so I don't have to worry about the negatives. Do we want to see this in slope-intercept form or point-slope form? Or both? Which one? Both, okay. So I'll do slope-intercept first. If I'm using this, that would be x, y, m, so this would be 3 equals negative 4 times 3 plus b. If I multiply, that would be negative 12. And if I added 12 to both sides, b would be 15. So our equation would be y equals negative 4x plus 15. Then I'll go back and I'll do one. I would say I'll just do it on the next one, but that one's a little different. So using the same slope and the same point, we have y minus 3 equals negative 4 times x minus 3. Distribute the negative 4. So this is going to become a positive 12, and then add 3 on both sides. You should get the same thing either way. Questions on that one? If you're using your point slope and you happen to have negatives and you don't change the negative to a positive, the rest of your work gets a little thrown off. In 18, we're going to find the slope. So that would be 5 minus a negative 1 over 0 minus a negative 4. Make sure you're labeling those if you're doing that. X, then Y, X, then Y. So this would be 5 plus 1 or 6, and then 0 plus 4 or 4, and that would simplify to 3 over 2. In a normal situation, I would just keep going, but because this one tells me this is my y-intercept, I don't need to do that work. I can take my slope and y-intercept and write my equation. Questions on that? Yeah.
So what you were done blue, sorry. That's a linear.
It's the slope intercept form. Mm-hmm. Okay. But we started with the point slope. Okay. Other questions before we move on to the graphing? Okay. So for the graphs, I don't think I did this, but I can do this really quickly. You should have points at your y-intercept and points wherever your slope ended, and arrows at the ends. This does have arrows, but the line is a little long, so I'll just explain them. So this should have started at 3. We can't go up 5, so we can go down 5 and to the left 2, and we still would have got that positive. This one would start at -1, and we can go up 1 to the left 4 and down 1 to the right 4. And make sure you have arrows. 21 should have been a straight line across. Make sure you're putting that y-intercept and arrows. And then for 22, start at +5 and go down 7 to the right 4 and make sure you have arrows. Questions there? Yes. Did you ask a question? No. Okay. Great. And then on the last page. For 23, we should have put 0 in for one of the variables. So let's say I put that in for y. This would become 0, so I have 6x equals 24, and I would solve both sides for x. And then write that as an ordered pair. And then for the second one, same thing. I would put x 0 in for x. Which, those of you that did this, most of you got this. Some of us forgot this negative out front. So make sure you're bringing down all of your signs. And then put that in as an ordered pair. Questions on that one? In 24, you could have started off by plotting these 2 points at 5, 0, at -1, and counted the slope. Yeah, okay. Which would be up 1 to the right 5, which is how we got this. And then it wanted you to write the equation, not just plot the points. So after you found that, find the slope, and then write that into your equation. Y equals 1/5 x minus 1. Questions on that one? The last two were just identifying what the x and y intercepts were as ordered pairs. So x was 1, 0, y was 0, -1, x was 5, 0, and then y was 0, 2. Questions on those? Okay, so really quick before lunch, I just want to explain the project. If you so choose to do that, let me get it first actually. So unlike the last one, this one's a little different. So for this, you'll be given a set of order points. Okay, So you'll be given a set of order points. You're going to choose six of them. In whatever 6 you choose, you're then going to find your slope. Using your slope formula, figure out what your slope is, simplify it. Okay. Pick your points, find your slope, simplify it. You're going to tell me what type of slope this is, positive, negative, zero, undefined. Then you're going to sorry, I skipped this up. You're going to graph a point with that slope, 2 graph lines on graph paper, and then state what the y-intercept is, state what the equations are. Then you're going to find the x-intercepts of those. And then the very last thing is to write one standard equation, so one that looks like this, using one of your x and y intercepts. So if you want to do the project, that is that. If you need more clarification on those directions, I can do that again. There's a second part to this. That's for the next unit. So if you want to do this project again, or that second part, third part for the next unit, you have to do this first. Otherwise, there is a different project that I'm going to offer for the next unit as well, but you wouldn't be able to do this if you haven't done it for this unit, if that makes sense. Okay. Anyone thinking about doing the project? Okay. Alright. Do we have any other questions on the quiz or in general? Yes.
So just clarifying, the part about the say horizontal lines. So that's where so it's horizontal on the y-axis, vertical on the x.
Yes. So for the toy box, horizontal lines is for y, vertical lines is for x.
So the y-intercept is this way, the x-intercept is this way.
In general, yes. So the y-intercept falls on the y-axis, and the x-intercept falls on the x-axis, which is opposite of the horizontal and vertical lines. Yes. Other questions? If you have any specific questions on your quiz, you can raise your hand.